All praises to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham Rakar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. We'll be talking about in this lesson about how people have become demons, man. Alright? The people have become demons. And what I mean by that when I say that is that the people have got a extremely ungodly spirit on them to where they don't have any moral code. They're not prepared to question, right? They're not prepared to question anything that is wicked, right? Because they don't want their wickedness that they do to be questioned. So what they do instead then is they just say, don't judge anybody that's doing something wrong, because you don't want your thing. If you don't want your things that you're doing wrong, or because you don't want your things that you're doing wrong to be judged. And that's how these people live their lives, man. Right? They're extremely, as it stands right now, the people are extremely evil, man. Right? And they've got a spirit of Satan on them. Right? They've got a real evil and wicked spirit on them. Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 12. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So although these people think that the way that they're living is right, and they think, oh, as long as I don't judge what anybody else is doing, then I'm not judgmental, so they shouldn't be judging me for what I'm doing, right? But really, all these people that try and come across as though they're not judgmental, they are judgmental. As soon as we start bringing out Bible verses, right, they're the ones to first come out and try and question how we believe in this. Well, why do you believe that God exists? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? The Bible's been changed. They've got a whole lot to say as soon as we start bringing out our belief, right? But when these people are thinking that it's okay to be having a whole pride parade where these people are doing some whole bunch of freakism all up in front of children, and saying that it's okay for children to be allowed at these things, right? These people are evil. And these people want children to be at these things, right? Or think that they should be allowed at these things. But it was normal people, right? Straight people, heterosexual people, people that are not weird and alternative, right? That cause for these children and cause for them and any of the people that they try and do their mass wickedness with, right? Their mass wickedness with. It's normal people that cause for these people to be around. But they don't want to talk about that though. They don't want to talk about them kind of things because it gets too real then when you start speaking about things like that, right? This is Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And is that not what most people do right now? Right? When a man sees a woman that's beautiful, right, he calls her a bad bitch, right? And it's very rare that a woman that's actually a beautiful woman in this world, when she's walking on the street, actually gets called that. And it's rare that a woman will even call herself that. A woman that's actually attractive won't call herself a beautiful woman when she's trying to feel better about herself or whatever. She'll call herself a bad bitch, right? Because people have became used to saying things are calling good things evil things. And even some of us as Israelite brothers, we do the same thing, man. For example, if you eat some food, right, you might say something like, that tastes good as hell, right? Or if you see a woman that's attractive, you might say, man, she's fine as hell. And even that's something that we do sometimes, man, right? Even that's something that we do sometimes, but we don't do it to the same degree as what these people do, by where they'll see an evil deed, right? And they'll call that evil deed good, right? But then they'll see a good deed and they'll call that good deed evil, right? Which is ultimately more so what this is talking about than slipping up with the tongue, man. Because the Bible speaks about not slipping up in that you can slip up in the tongue but not in the heart, man. Right? Now, let me go to some more things. This is Isaiah chapter 24. Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 1. Behold, Yahweh maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for Yahweh hath spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. And who are some of the haughty people? Some of the people that are going to pride festivals, right? And some men that are into women, right, will go to these pride festivals to try and get women because they know that women go to things that are wicked, right? But what they don't understand when they're doing these things is that when people go to these places, right, there's evil spirits being cast out in an event like that. So part of that evil spirit, when there's alcohol there, that's also called spirits. What could end up happening to one of these guys, considering these trans parallelograms, right? That they're trying to perfect that wickedness and that evil spirit of Baphomet, which is also a trans parallelogram demon, man. Right? That's got it's partly human, partly a goat, partly an angel, partly a demon, right? He's partly a man, partly a woman. He's weird, bro. He's got wings and all that, right? But that's the same thing as what these trans-parallelogram people are turning themselves into, man. That's the spirit that they come in. And they're slowly trying to perfect that wickedness. So a man could end up going to that thinking, oh, I'm just going to get some of these women that are attractive there, right? But end up with something that they didn't order. You understand? And end up then now becoming defiled, man. So it's not even a thing that men should be going to. If you think that you're trying to be righteous, right? That you shouldn't even go there. But people went to there and they're going to go to these things. They're going to do that. And they end up destroying themselves. Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 5. The earth also is defiled unto the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. And in order for this world to be completed and be perfected, the people that Yahweh gave the ability to rule and the laws to rule the world with, which is a perfect way that's not filled with unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. The Israelites have to be in charge. Nobody else being in charge of this world can make this world be perfect. And that's why all the kingdoms that have previously been on the earth have always fell. Even our own ancient Israel fell because we went off and fell away from the way that was perfect. Not because the way that we was given was wrong, but because we didn't listen to it. Isaiah 24 and verse 5 again, the earth also is defiled unto the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and very few men left. Right? And the Israelites are scattered all over the earth. So wherever the Israelites are, the curses are on the earth. Right? So the earth is defiled, because us not being in power has caused for this earth not to be at its best. And that's why, despite us being the lowest nation on the earth, everyone's always still sticking their Ishmaelite nose, sticking their Edomite nose, sticking their Ishmaelite nose, Moabite nose, Elamite nose, right? Hamite nose, all up in our business all the time, trying to worry about what we're doing, trying to see whatever we got going on. Even though we're so low, then we're actually highly ranked in this world in terms of influence, man. We're actually the really damn near the highest, if not number one. We're number two in terms of influence, man. Because these Ishmaelites love listening to a Vibes Cartel or a Mavado when that was popular. They love listening to reggae, right? They love trying to dress like how we talk. When they're trying to chat up a woman or holler at a woman, or however you want to word that, right? They love trying to come at the woman the same way as what, in particular, a New York type Judah would try and come at a woman. They love trying to copy how we talk to try and get women. They love to do that. And then they'll try and say, oh, nah, that's just young people street talk and all that. No, that's how we talk, man. That's part of the way how our people talk, right? And you people love to try and copy it, man. Anything we do, everybody else is trying to copy it all the time, man. We make a red pill community thing where we start really talking about how our women are acting up and acting a damn fool, right? And how we need to come up with things to go against that. And then now all of a sudden everybody else is making one. And then you even got Edomite women all up in it now. That's how it always goes, man. Because all this world just likes to copy the Israelites all the time. But anyway, man, that's not even really the topic on what I'm trying to talk about. But it just goes into how all of the things match, man. Because we're the chosen, right? And in order for this world to be at its most beautiful, the most beautiful people have to be put back in their beautiful position and be made to be back in charge, man. You can't have a world where the most wicked people are in charge, because then the people mourn. Let me get that. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. All right? So when you've got wicked people in charge, the people are going to be moaning, they're going to be complaining, they're going to be angry with how things are going on because they never see justice, right? And the Bible also says, what does it say? It says, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So that's why now people don't care about anything. People don't want to care about any kind of issue going on in the world, because when they had an issue, they felt like their issue didn't get heard. So now they're like, I don't give a damn about nobody else's problems. I got my own problems going on. Nobody cared about my problems when I had a problem. So I don't care about somebody else's problem when they got one. And that's why everyone's backstabbing, everyone's lying, deceiving, right? Everyone's trying to just get the quick money, right? Nobody wants to think about, in a long term, right? Even in the worldly sense, people don't want to think about the long term. Never mind in terms of the scriptural sense. They don't want to think about, how honorable would it be for you to become like, to your family, your own version of like what Abraham is to us, right? Meaning that because Abraham showed himself honorable before Yahweh, right? Us as Israelites, we get a blessing from that, right? Just like how in the kingdom, the elect men of the nation of Israel, they're going to become they're like a version of Abraham to their descendants, because their descendants are going to say, wow, because this forefather of mine didn't take the charagma, did all these honorable things, I'm part of the descendants of one of the elect, right? That's what it's going to be. The Israelites are the elect are going to have honor because of that. Because every single person that's going to be born just after the Israelites are separated from those that believe and those that don't, every single Israelite that's born after that is going to be a descendant of men and women of the elect. In particular, the men is what's going to count, right? But the women of the elect are going to have their own honor among women, right? Let me get this scripture, Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 4. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. Now, what other scripture would you need to read than that to show that, as to the best of our ability, we're supposed to try and do some of the things that are written in the laws, man? What other scripture would you need than that? But if you ask a Christian bug out, they're going to say, nah, it's done away with, don't say anything. And that's why it's almost like a Christian, yeah, when as a Christian man, it's almost like it comes with a mandatory vasectomy, bro, because they don't seem to have no kind of ability to question anything other than a Hebrew Israelite. They only seem to have any kind of testosterone towards combating against Israelites, and that's because the whole world's against Israelites. So they feel like they got a bit of courage then, right? But when it comes against somebody that the world's trying to defend, then you'll notice that these people ain't got no courage to try and say anything against that. So they'll always say something to a dark-skinned man, right? But they won't say nothing about to the pale-skinned man, right? They won't say nothing to the You Wish Foundation over there in the land of Israel. They won't say nothing to those people, right? But they got a whole lot to say to us. When if there was being a true defender of the gospel, they'd say something about us because they got a problem with what we're saying, but then they'd also have to look at everybody else and judge them with the same scrutiny. But they don't do that. They'd also look at every Bible believer with the same scrutiny as what they look at us with. And you'd see some videos of them talking about, oh, okay, I believe this doctrine, so I'm going to have a say, go into what the Jehovah's Witnesses are saying and pick out that I don't agree with that. And I'm going to what the Roman Church says and say, Roman Catholic, and say something about that too. Oh, I'm going to look at what the Mormons said and I'm going to say something about that too. Oh, I'm going to look at what the Seventh-day Adventist says and I'm going to that too. But what they do is they just only talk about Israelites, right? And then they talk about the other people briefly because they're all joined together to come up against us because the Israelites is the truth of what the Bible is talking about. And that's why it hurts these people's feelings so much. None of these people ever made YouTube channels and started doing 5-hour streams, 9-hour streams I've seen, 10 hours, just to talk about how much they don't like something. They never did that before. But when it came to the Israelites, then all of a sudden they had courage to do it. Then all of a sudden they realized their zeal for the scriptures, huh? But before that, they never had none. Now, I entitled this video, The People Have Become Demons, right? So what do you do to defend yourself against a demon? Well, let's read it, man. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world. Now, who would that be? Right? That would be the Caucasian race, which are really the Edomites, man. That would be them. But also all the other nations' elites too. But the top of this world right now is the Caucasian man, who is the Edomite that the Bible speaks of. Whether people want to accept that or not, who cares? It's the truth. It's the truth, man. And that's why whenever anybody wants to talk about what the Caucasian people are doing, right, they'll always try and blame it on a code name. They'll say, oh, the elites, the government, right? Oh, the elites are doing it. Oh, it's the government. Oh, it's the people in charge doing it. Or they'll name a company and all that. But if you look at who owns the company, then you'll see who's doing it. But whenever it comes to us as doing something as Israelites, right, they just blame all Israelites together. Or if it comes to saying something about black people, they'll blame all black people together. Or if it comes to stereotyping Mexicans, they'll stereotype Mexicans as a whole. But then they don't ever stereotype white people as a whole and say, Hank, how can it be that white people are good as people want to try and claim, yet the majority of the things that we see, the evidence of what they do is wicked? How comes the good people of the white people, since they're so good then, how comes they haven't overcame the wicked of their people and shown that they're good? How come? And how come they always want to blame it on the elites, yet we can easily have never met an elite in our life and seen that they're not, that among their own self, they're not righteous when they're not elite? Because it's all lies, man. That's why. And everybody knows this, but they're shook though, because they're thinking that they can pacify Esau, and as long as they don't say nothing too much, then he won't go back into that 1600 spirit, right? They think he won't go back into that slave master spirit. But here's the thing: he's always got that slave master spirit on him, right? He's always got that spirit on him, and he's just trying to perfect the techniques, because coming at people straight up with violence, you can receive violence back then. So he's trying to come up with a perfect technique, which is the technology that he's making right now, and the system that combines all the technologies together. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And because the people became demons, most of them are not able to overcome these spirits, man. So they're overtaken by them, and they don't even know that they're overtaken by them. And whenever they speak about anything, they sound like how an Edomite would sound. Oh, you're just as bad as them if you committed slavery on them, like how they did it to you. How? If somebody comes up and punches me in my face and I punch them back in their face, right? How am I as bad as them when they're the one that started the punching? How? There's such a thing in this world called self-defense, and there's such a thing in this world known as justice, right? And it's justice to do something to somebody that did it to you, right? That's justice, man. And since one of the common talking points about the Atlantic slave trade was that it civilized the people, and that it was a good thing, and that it wasn't that bad. So if it's not that bad, then when it gets done to the people that did it to us, then it's not going to be that bad for them too, right? Since it wasn't that bad, then when they go through it, it cannot be bad too, right? When they go through it, it can also be civilizing, because as we can see from this world, it's definitely not civilized, right? It's definitely not. The average person is an idiot, regardless of their degree, regardless of the amount of money that they make, regardless of their grey hairs on their head, regardless of how many kids they've got, regardless of their years of study. They're an idiot. And that's why they can easily be tricked, easily be deceived into doing almost anything. And that's why they don't have a moral code to defend anything that they see that's wicked, but they only have a moral code, right, which ain't no moral code, to speak about people that are doing wickedness. That's the only time they feel any courage to talk. Or when the numbers are in their favor, then they feel the courage to talk. But because they don't want to be the odd one out, right? But broad is the way that leads to destruction, and narrow is the way that leads to life, man. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 13, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Yahweh, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. Now, you can't be having on the breastplate of righteousness, but you're standing for alphabeting and rainbowing, and you're thinking that adultery is okay, and you're thinking that killing your own people is okay. You can't. That's not the breastplate of righteousness. That's the breastplate of wickedness. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Now, what's the gospel of peace? The true doctrine of the scriptures, man, which involves slavery. It involves having your oppressor in captivity, man. Just like it says in Isaiah the 14th chapter. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And that's why these people can't do nothing, man, because the faith that we've got given, the faith that we have, was given to us by Yahweh, and nobody can take it away because of that. It didn't come of our own self. And take the helmet of salvation with the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahweh, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. So these people can't do nothing, man, because what we believe in hasn't got no flaws in there. Because what we believe in didn't come from us. But what these people believe in came from their own minds and from their own hearts, man, and from their own things that they want to do in this world. Right? The people have become demons. Shalom.